Hi, I'm Jackie from Wacky Jackies. You know, over the years, having people in my shop at retreats and being at shows and whatnot, I've found that a lot of people can't find beginners classes. It's very difficult because there's a lack of quilting shops to do beginners courses, or, you know, just places in general to find that. So what I thought is I would actually design a beginners quilt, which is the Wacky Jackies beginners quilt. And we'll go through step by step with all the different blocks, and I hope that you really enjoy it if you are a beginners, because it is a lovely quilt to sew, and we'll just help you all the way. Thanks. Okay, so now we're going to start on block one. So block one is this one here, which is called a 9 patch. But we need to get everything ready first. So the first thing you need to do is take a little sample of all your fabrics, stick them to a piece of paper and put what number fabric they are. Just so much easier for down the track, because you're always like, oh, what number is it? So you get a little bit confused. So do that before you start. You need your ruler, you need your cutter, and you need your board. So let's get cutting. So we'll start cutting now, and we've got the 4.5-inch strip with the fabric. This is not quite with the fabric, I'm just using some fabric I've got here. So you have to cut 4.5-inch squares. So you've got 4.5-inch width of fabric. You need to cut 5 of this fabric here, which is fabric number 2. So there's 2, 3 I've got, and another 2 at 4.5-inch square. So I've got 5 of those. And then I need 4 of fabric 3. So line those edges up and cut 4. So this is double this fabric, so that's how I'm getting 4. That's 2. And another 2. So that's 4. So you get the 5 of fabric 2 and 4 of fabric 3. Then you just set them out exactly how it's shown in the pattern. Make sure you've got your fabric side, the right side up. With some batiks, most of them you don't have to bother, but with some batiks, you can actually see the difference. This one in particular, you can see the difference. All right. So we've got those 3 lines. So what you have to do now is you've got to join those 3 lines together first, and then we'll iron the seams, and then we'll join the 3 lines together, as in 1 to 2, 2 to 3. So to join the 3 lines together, pick up 2 pieces, bring it over to your machine. You've got your 1/4-inch foot on it, and I've brought the stitch length down to 1.8, which is the most ideal for me. I believe that's the best stitch length. And we're going to sew 1/4-inch seam. This has got an automatic cutter. Not all machines have got it. Then you take the second one, the third square, and add that to the first 2 squares. All right, so that's your first line, easy as that. Make sure that you've got that up to the fabric up to the side of the guide, so you get that good 1/4-inch seams. So now we've got these 3 lines that we want to add together and make the block, but we want to iron the seams on the back. And because we want them to interlock like we showed you on the Back to Basics video, you want to, the number 1 and 3 iron to the right, and number 2 iron to the left. So if you turn them all over, which is, I always find it a little bit easier. So we want to iron these 2 to the right. So iron them on the back first, and then iron them, press them nicely on the front, and put it back into the place. Iron this is the 3rd line. Iron this to the right again. Turn it over, press it nicely on the front, and put it back in place here. And this one, you're now going to iron it to the left. And then press it nicely on the front so you get all the right seams right out. So now you have to add 1 to 2. So get your pins out. Because you're a beginner, it's wise to pin it. But as you can see, there is you can actually see where they clip together. Nicer to do it by pinning it together. And then we go over to, yep, that's right. Okay, so we're just going to sew this together with a nice clean 1/4 inch seam. When you get to the pin, take it out. Once again, take the pin out. Right. So that's the first and the second line. So now all you got to do is add the third line on it, and you line up your that's the wrong way, that's way. You line up your seams so that they lock in together. Get your finger, you can feel it with your fingers. Put your pin in there so you don't, you want to have a nice clean corner. That's it. And sew that seam up. Quarter inch seam. Make sure that your edges are even and they don't get out. If the back edge is even with the front edge. Right. Okay, so that's that done. So as you can see, nice and even. All the corners match up. There's no over, like this corner hasn't gone over that corner. They're all even. And then all you have to do now is iron this so it's kind of naturally going out, ironing out. Mind you, I got that done wrong there. Yes, it's all right. Iron all the back out. Re-iron any little bits you need. Turn it over. And then just stretch it out a bit so you get a nice even finish. And there's your first block finish, 9 patch. So now we want to put together this actual block to quilt, and it's called Quilt As You Go, QAYG, Quilt As You Go. So we need 3 components. One is a 14-inch piece of your backing. So I've cut that, put that face down. Then you need a piece of the Hobbs fusible wadding. Put that over the top of that. Fusible wadding is that you can actually iron the wadding and it sticks to the fabric. So we've got the Hobbs fusible wadding. Just make sure that's nice and flat. And then your block, face up. Centre it over the middle, because I've made that backing and wadding about 1 inch bigger than the whole actual finished block, so that you don't have to worry about that you're going to go over, you're going to run out of backing or wadding. So now you have to iron it on because it's fusible. This Hobbs fusible wadding is really good because it irons and sticks. You don't have to worry about pinning your quilt. Generally you have to pin if you haven't got fusible wadding. So give it a really good iron. You need to iron it very well so it sticks. If you haven't got Hobbs wadding, you can use normal wadding and then just use some safety pins and pin it and take the pins out as you're actually quilting. So we've done that on the back, and you want to, on the front, sorry, and you want to iron on the back. Make sure there's no creases on the back. So iron the back out. Iron it well so it sticks well with a hot iron. All right, so now that's your block. And what we want to do is we want to actually mark this out. I've just used straight lines or triangles or whatever like that because I'm not a very good quilter. I've never professed to be a quilter. I'm a patchworker. I love patchworking. I hate quilting. I usually end up getting it quilted myself. But since I've been starting this quilt as you go style of quilting, I just find it so much easier because you can get it done and not have to worry about taking it to the quilters. And I use one of these chalk pencils. And you can just either draw a line or you can use your eye. So I'm just going to draw a line straight across like that at 3/4 of an inch. Draw it again 3/4 of an inch here, and then turn it around. Draw it a 3/4 of an inch that side, and again from here. And then just do it across the quilt because this just comes off, it just erases off this white chalk. And then you can just follow that, and it's very easy to, you're not going to, it doesn't matter if it's not absolutely perfect, but the closer it is, the better. You'll get a nicer finish. And then from the bottom or on the outside, because there's a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, do an inch in from the bottom and all the sides, and then you're going to get an even square. So there's your little square in the middle, starting to form. And that's ready to go under the machine. So that's it there. You can see the little white lines on it. Now it's time to quilt it. Quilt as you go. We have it ready with all of our lines on it. This is a mono poly thread, fantastic. It's clear, so it's a lot more forgiving than using like a Rasanta, coloured Rasanta and whatnot. I always use this on the top and the bobbin, and instead of putting it on your sewing machine thread holder or your spool holder, I put it in a cup at the back and thread it up over through the machine because it seems to come off the spool a lot easier that way. So that's a good tip there. And then I've got my walking foot. Some machines have an already built-in walking foot, but this one hasn't. So this is just a generic walking foot that I've put on. So what we're going to do is we're going to now sew these 3 together and make it finish off this particular block. So all you've got to do is just start sewing. So I'm just going these straight lines all the way down. I don't bother about finishing it off. I just pull up the foot, go along the edge of the fabric because you will never see that. And then easy as that. Do one more line. So you do all the lines across it and then go to the other side and do the lines the other way. So take your block to the ironing board, give it a good iron. Now that monopoly is poly cotton, so it's not going to melt. Give it a very nice iron so it's nice and flat. And there you have your first quilted block, your 9 patch.